The Apt Cupra cars are really struggling, managing to secure the last slots on the starting grid. They really haven't had a very good start to their opening season. So it's a better performance from Evans this time round, finding himself second on the grid for the opening race. He hasn't done too well in the last two races of the year, but don't forget he had a very similar situation last year and he ended up in a title fight by the end of it. Evans starts on the dirty side of the track, however he's amazingly able to take the lead. Both Jags are performing well during this race. It's good to see some good pace performance from them. So after attack, Evans is third, ahead of Wehrlein. Evans is fighting Hughes hard for P5 in the closing stages of the race. Ultimately, Hughes has to defend so hard he runs out of power and Evans has to push him over the line at the end, ultimately knocking them both down the points order with FormulaE coming past them. So Nico Müller locks up on the main straight and unfortunately puts himself into the wall. That means the safety car has to come out. Looking back at the car's telemetry, there was nothing wrong. It was just purely a case of a simple mechanical lockup. Such a shame. Bird had a very good race yesterday and he's a man on a mission. He's won here before here in the past and he sets to try and do it again here. He makes early contact with Mortara on the opening lap, damaging the front of the Jaguar. However, it doesn't appear to be doing too much to his energy efficiency. He gets constant calls to show how good his energy is against the rest of the field. Birds and Evans eventually have a swap. This could be potentially team orders given the fact Bird has got more power than Evans. Bird gets P3 after Rast goes for his attack mode. However, with that safety car, that really did damage Bird's chances, as he still needs to take his attack modes. So unfortunately, with the whole field concertinaed back up, this isn't looking good for the Jaguar driver. Bird pushes hard and fights with Rast, pretty much all the way for the last closing stages of the race. He overcooks it on Rast a couple of times, and ultimately, he cannot pass him. Unfortunately, Oliver Rowland has to retire due to a puncture. This late in the race, it's not worth him going back out and joining the back of the field. So McLaren qualify very well, with Rast third and Hughes first. This is the first pole in his third ever race in Formula E from Hughes. However, he loses it on the start. This is the first time the pole sitter here has not led the opening lap. However, I don't think it's poor performance from Hughes. I think it was just a great drive off the line from the Jaguar man. Hughes is complaining about his front tyres not working. This could simply just be a heat issue. With McLaren's running 1 and 2, this is the perfect team strategy game for them. For some reason, Hughes takes attack mode, so Evans can take the lead. McLaren really messed up there. They had the opportunity of having Rast hold back the rest of the pack to allow the other McLaren to take its attack mode. Rast manages to take his attack mode and come out ahead of Evans, so good call from the McLaren team there. This is the first time leading an eprix for René Rast in 25 races in the sport. However, he has to take attack mode, and ultimately that does let Wehrlein through. The poor McLaren call from the very beginning really has damaged Hughes' chance and eventually slips down to 6th position. Similar to race 2, you've got the McLarens and the Jaguars fighting instead of the Envisions. Rast is fighting, defending hard on his tight, twisty street circuit, and he does really well. He did technically cross the line without enough power, so it'd be interesting to see whether or not anybody does complain about this. FormulaE doesn't have a great start to this race, and unfortunately finds himself down at P8 for most of the race. However, he manages to get himself up into P4 after the calamitous event of Hughes and Evans. So Dennis manages to qualify 6th for the event today. So let's see how he can perform. He's only 1 point ahead of Wehrlein at the moment, so this race could really add some drama to the championship. So Dennis has been biding his time, just sitting back, taking cool, calm, calculated moves. Eventually, working his way up to P4, he takes Hughes after he goes for a tag. Dennis has not taken attacks with only 16 laps left to go. However, he manages to find himself up into P2. Interestingly, Dennis has managed to make 8 overtakes in this race. That's not accounting for people going for attack mode. It's a real stellar performance from him. Dennis and Bird both go for attack at the same time. Rast just manages to get out ahead of Bird, putting Dennis in 2nd place. Towards the closing stages, Wehrlein and Dennis basically check out. So Wehrlein is up 1 place from the start. The Porsche powertrains are spread out across the field at the start of this race. Wehrlein eventually sits back, letting the Jags and the McLarens fight it out and wasting their precious energy. Wehrlein moves to P3 over Hughes. And with Wehrlein now with 3% more power than the rest of the field, it just goes to show the Porsches are very competitive this year. Wehrlein manages to take his attack and hold on to his P2 position, eventually taking P1. Although it could be said he has managed to make more overtakes in this race just by people going for attacks rather than Dennis's actual drive. It's noted that Wehrlein isn't coasting as much as other drivers, more using his brakes to regain energy. Perhaps maybe that's the key for the Porsche powertrain this year. Eventually, he goes on to win the race. Fantastic performance from him, and he just edges that lead ever further away from Jake Dennis.
Energy rich, mate. Very energy rich. Just need to let this play out.